Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you all here this morning. Thank you so much, Kendrick, for leading us in worship this morning. I appreciate you doing that for us, even if it wasn't without its technical difficulties, though I hope that probably wasn't seen by most. I also want to welcome our guests who are online. We're grateful that you're here. Leave us a comment down below. Let us get to know you that way. And those who are visiting with us here in person, we hope that you can stick around with us and let us get to know you that way as well. It's kind of been one of those mornings when it comes to our technology. You know, those mornings that don't quite go right. I think a lot of people call them Mondays, right? It doesn't seem like whatever happens, it just doesn't go right. Nothing goes smoothly. I saw a meme this last week I thought I would share with you. A guy gets a genie and wishes, I wish Mondays would just go away, right? And then everyone's around the water cooler on Tuesday saying, I wish Tuesdays weren't here, right? That just seems to be kind of the way things go. I don't know if you believe in bad luck. I don't believe in bad luck. I believe that there is providence. I believe God's in control. But despite that, I find my language often is such that I use the terms, right, of bad luck or good luck, right? It's just my luck, right? I hit every light on the way here red. It's one of those. It's just one of those days. It's just my luck, right? We use those kind of phrases, even maybe if we don't believe in the concept of bad luck or even good luck. Now, I don't know if the disciples believed in bad luck or not, but we're going to pick up where we left off last week with the study of Jesus and the disciples, and I think they may have found themselves accidentally using such phrases. It's just my luck. How can things be going this poorly? Now, we're in a study right now of Jesus. We're seeking to know who Jesus is. We're seeking to study and understand who Jesus is and what the Bible has to say about him. And we're doing so by looking at the Gospel of Mark. The Gospel of Mark is a wonderful book for us to study because it doesn't require us to know a bunch of background. It doesn't require us to know all the Jewish things. It's a book written to a Gentile audience. And it's written to show us, or to ask the question and to answer the question, who is Jesus? In doing this, I'm also utilizing as a skeleton of my sermons what I know as the Mark study. This is an evangelistic chain reference study that I'm kind of going to walk you through kind of as we go. So if you're interested in learning this study and maybe doing this study with somebody, you can just open up your Bible, grab a pen, and the front of your Bible put Mark study, and then put Mark 1:1. And every time we have a reference that needs to be added to that, I'm going to have this little key reference mark up here in the corner, and you can just add to that chain reference. If you want to catch up from last week, all you need to put is Mark 1:1, then Mark 4:35 through 38, and then Mark 4:39 through 41. And then we'll pick up the references today with Mark 5. If you want the entirety of the study at the offset, you can either go online and you can download a copy of it. You can also take a photo. Most of our phones now have a code reader built right in, which allows you to just take a photo and it'll take you right to the website. I also, for your convenience, have put a copy of the first 2 of 3 parts out in the foyer, so you can grab a copy of that, and that's the entirety. Last week I had a partial. This week it's the entirety of parts 1 and 2. So you can have a printed copy if you would like, and if you want more, I will be making those available. So where did we leave off last week? Jesus and his disciples were crossing the Sea of Galilee, and a storm comes up. Jesus is asleep at the front of the boat. And the disciples begin to realize that they're in a dangerous situation. And they begin to wake Jesus and they ask him a question. Do you care? Here you are asleep in the front of the boat. We're about to die. Do you care about us? Jesus answers that question by standing up and calming the storm. He calms the storm. Then they ask a different question. Who is this? Who is this that is able to stand in the front of our boat and say, peace, Be still. And the storm listens. Those who study weather and know weather very well are meteorologists. Can only give their best guess at the weather. They can't control it. They don't determine what it is, and even their best guess is often wrong. But here Jesus is able to stand in the front of the boat and say, "Peace, be still," and he calms the storm. Now, so much of study of the Bible is about asking good questions. It's about coming to the text and making sure you understand what's being said. So whether you're studying with somebody or whether you're studying on your own, it's a matter of asking good questions of the text so that you understand what's going on, so that you can put yourself in that situation so that you can understand what's going on. That's what good Bible study is made up of. So I wonder what the disciples were thinking after all this had happened. They thought they were going to die. They were in the storm. And then Jesus calms the storm. I don't know about you, and I don't know about them, but I would want out of that boat. Whether I was just scared of the storm that had just taken place, I would want to get on dry ground and kiss the dirt. I think there's also a little bit of fear of understanding that Jesus is more powerful than the storm, and I'm a little bit nervous being in the same boat, in the same presence, being confined with Jesus. That might be what they're thinking as well. So I don't know exactly what the disciples were thinking, but I would definitely be wanting out of the boat if I was them. But let's see what happens next. In Mark chapter 5, starting in verses 1 through 6, we read, "And they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gennesaret. And when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. He lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him any more, not even with chains, for he had often been bound with shackles and with chains, but he had wrenched the chains apart. He had broken the shackles into pieces. No one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs on the mountains, he was always crying out, cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him." What do you think the disciples were thinking as all of this happened? You've been in this boat. You want to get out of this boat. You've been through a storm. You just want to jump out of the boat and kiss dry land. But when you do, you look up, and here comes a madman. Now, it's important to understand that the disciples don't know all of the backstory of this man. They've never met this man in their life. But it is apparent from his not only character and his demeanor, but also from his appearance that something's not quite right. His hair's a mess. His clothes, if he has any, are in tatters. Bloodstained if he still has any sort of clothing on. He might be running at them yelling and screaming, hollering. I don't know if you've ever been in a place that you're not familiar with, maybe in a country you don't know, walking through a dark alley at night, and you meet some stranger on the way and you get a little bit nervous because things could go wrong. You're not sure if you're safe. This is that on steroids, right? You've just gotten out of a storm, and here comes a guy running at you, and he's obviously a little bit crazy. Not quite safe. You don't have to know all of his backstory from his appearance to know that something's not quite right. So which do you choose? Do you jump out of the boat and kiss the ground because you're finally on land? Or do you stay in the boat because it's a cemetery and there's a crazy man running at you? Land or water? Rock and a hard place. From the fire into the frying pan, or from the frying pan into the fire, depending on how you look at it, right? It's not a good situation. But as we look at this story, maybe we shouldn't be focusing upon the disciples. The text doesn't give a lot of indication of exactly what they were thinking. They were there, but maybe we should be focusing upon the man. This man was dealing with demons in his life. Lots of struggles and torments. He had been rejected by his community. In their attempts to subdue him and control him, they had harmed him, and the demons that were plaguing his life were harming him as well. It becomes very apparent through this story that he's not in control. The demons are. He's not in control of his life. He's in great torment, and he's in great pain. This man is dealing with a lot. And then Jesus shows up on his beach, at the edge of his cemetery, where he's been driven, where he's suffering. There does seem to be two individuals here. There seems to be the demons in his life, supernatural beings in this situation, and then himself. And the demons, as they're running at Jesus, knowing that they cannot get away, know who he is, and they're afraid. The demons in this man's life are afraid of Jesus. And knowing they can't get away by running, they run to Jesus. I wonder if this man was aware enough to maybe have a little bit of hope as his body went towards Jesus. Wondering if the demons are afraid of this man, maybe he's my deliverance. Maybe I can finally be set free from this torment. We pick up our reading here in verse 7. Crying out with a loud voice, he said, "What do you do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you, by God, do not torment me." For he was saying to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" And he replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And he begged him earnestly not to send him out into the country. Now a great herd of pigs was feeding nearby on a hillside, and they begged him, saying, "Send us into the pigs, let us enter them." So Jesus gave them permission. The unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs, and a herd numbering about 2,000 rushed down the steep bank into the sea and were drowned in the sea. Let's stop at verse 13. If you're doing the chain reference, you want to go all the way to verse 20. But let's stop here in verse 13. There's enough for us to unpack here. The demons are obviously the ones running the show. They're the ones in control, and they've been in control of this man's life for many, many years. He's in torment. And knowing that they cannot outrun Jesus, they run to him, and they reveal the identity of who Jesus is. Jesus, you are the Son of the Most High God. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm looking at a character reference, if I'm going to put down a referral, demons, a.k.a. Legion, is not who I want as a character reference. But it is clear through this story that Jesus and Legion are on very different sides of the spiritual spectrum. They're not on the same team. So the demonic forces, having a supernatural understanding of who Jesus is, reveal something about his identity. The first time we have this identity revealed about Jesus is Mark, at the beginning in Mark 1:1. The gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And here's the demons proclaiming, here is the Son of the Most High God. Not just the Son of God, but the Son of the Most High God. They're aware of who Jesus is. But they are in fear of Jesus, not in submission to him. They're in opposition to Jesus, not in submission to him. And with everything that they are, they continue to oppose Jesus. Don't send us into the open country. Send us into the herd of pigs. And Jesus agrees. Go into the herd of pigs. Go ahead. Now, legion means 1,000. There's a herd of 2,000 pigs that rush down the steep bank and are drowned. Pigs are pretty smart, but if a bunch of them, half of them at least, are running down a hill, I'm sure they would all stampede together. How many demons are in this man is not exactly clear. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter. What is clear and what does matter is that there is lots of problems in this man's life. There are multiple problems, multiple demons in his life that he is dealing with. And what is important for our study today is that we wrestle with the fact that maybe we identify a little bit with this man. Maybe there are demons in our life that we're dealing with that we don't have control of, that are controlling our life. No, I'm not speaking about supernatural beings that are possessing us, but we have those demons in our life, those things that are keeping us from our community, keeping us from having happiness and freedom. Maybe your demon or one of the demons in your life is anger. It doesn't take much, and all of a sudden you're flying off in a rage, and all you see is red. And your rage and your anger are controlling your life, and they're driving a wedge between you and others. They're hurting your reputation. Maybe they're even hurting your job. They're definitely hurting your health. Maybe anger or rage is that thing in your life, that demon in your life that has control of you and you don't have control of it. Maybe it's alcoholism. You were at first going to the bottle to find some sort of relief, some sort of happiness, but now it has control of you. You're not the one in control of it anymore. And it's no longer about finding relief. It's about you need that in your life in order to feel normal. And it's out of control. And it's hurting your life. And it's driving a wedge between you and others. It's hurting your reputation. Maybe it's even stealing your physical freedom. Maybe it's drugs, very much the same way. It begins a desire to have some relief from the pain of this world, and eventually it has control of you. You're not in control of it anymore. It runs your life. It controls who you are, and it's driving a wedge between you and others. Maybe it's pornography. Maybe it is pride. You're holding on to that pride, and it's driving a wedge between you and others. You come off as arrogant. You're not able to admit when you're wrong. There's a number of sins we could list here, things in our lives that can control us and drive a wedge between us and others, things that destroy our life. They steal our freedom. They steal our joy. We all have those demons in our lives that cause these kind of problems. And the purpose of our study today is to ask the question, is the story of Jesus good news? Is it beneficial to my life? And what we find in this story is that Jesus has the power to cast out these legion of demons and free this man from his troubles. So if Jesus can do that for this man, the question is, can he do it for me now? Can he provide me freedom from the demons that I've been dealing with that have been causing problems in my life? Let's pick up our reading here in verse 14 through 20. The herdsmen, they fled and they told it in the city and in the country, and the people came to see what it was that had happened. They came to Jesus. They saw the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion, sitting there, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. Those who had seen it described it to them, what had happened to the demon-possessed man and to the pigs. And they began to beg Jesus, "Depart from this region." He was getting into the boat, and the man who had been possessed with a demon begged him that he might go with him. But Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy upon you." And he went away and he began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone marveled. Those nearby, what they witnessed unnerved them. The farmers, the herdsmen, who had seen this whole herd of pigs rush off into the sea and drowned, ran out into the countryside telling everyone who would listen what had happened. Everyone from the city comes and they see the carcasses in the ocean, right, in the Sea of Galilee, and they hear the story, and they see this man that they have known about and that they've been avoiding when they go to their relatives' tombs. In fear, they see him in their right mind, clothed, and they're afraid. The reaction of those outside is fear. And they asked Jesus, please leave our area. We don't want you around. We don't know what to make of you and your power, your abilities. It unnerves us. Please leave. But it's also worth noting the impact that Jesus had and the reaction of the man who has been touched in this situation. Here's a man whose life has been upside down and in shambles for years. And now Jesus has restored to him his life, his dignity, his ability to decide for himself what he will do. So the question is, how will we react to Jesus? How will we respond to Jesus? Will we be like the townspeople who come out and see the power of God and say, we don't want that among us, we're scared. We reject you. Will we be like the disciples who are standing back, watching in a mixture of wonder, maybe a little bit of fear, amazement, wondering? Or will we be like this man who was demon-possessed and now has his life back, who accepts Jesus and obeys Jesus and seeks to go with Jesus? This man comes to Jesus alongside the boat and says, please let me come with you. Let me get in the boat with you. Let me go with you. I have nothing here. And Jesus says, no. Stay. Go tell others what God has done for you. Go tell others your story and how God has impacted your life. An interesting thing happens in his obedience in Jesus' command to go and tell his story. The next time Jesus returns to the area of the Decapolis, Jesus is greeted warmly and has a wonderful ministry in this area. Jesus, who had been thrown out of the area because of the work that he had done, because of that, a seed began to grow as this man began to tell his story. An impact was had. And Jesus was welcomed back into the Decapolis the next time we see him enter this region. This man did what Jesus asked and had an impact. The disciples, as they're in the boat, as Jesus calms the storm, asks a question, do you care? Jesus responds by showing he cares, by showing he has the power and the ability to help. Then they ask, once they see the power of Jesus, they ask, well, who is this? That even the winds and the waves obey him at a word. We can ask the same question as we end a look at the demon-possessed man. Who is this that at a word can free a man from the demons in his life? And we ask, is the story of Jesus good news? Is it beneficial to my life? Can Jesus have an impact upon my life here and now? Will we choose to accept Jesus? The townspeople saw that power and they rejected him. The disciples stood back in amazement. This man who had been healed obeyed and believed and followed Jesus. And his life was transformed for the better forever. And the question is, how will we respond? Will we follow Jesus? Will we accept that he is the Son of God? Will we commit our life to following him and obeying him? Or will we reject him? That choice is ours. So as we come to an end of our study this morning, I want to ask that question of you. What do you need in your walk of faith? If you have accepted Jesus and you are following Jesus, or maybe as you're seeking to understand who Jesus is, if you have a need for encouragement, for prayers, we stand ready to pray with you and to meet you where you are and encourage you as you walk through life. If you have questions about who Jesus is, we'll come back next week as we continue to unpack who Jesus is, but we'd also be happy to sit down and to open the Word of God and to study it with you, to study it one-on-one with you. But maybe you have been studying. Maybe you know it's time that I commit my life to Him, that I die to myself, and that I am cleansed. The water's ready. It's ready. So however we can assist you in your walk of faith, we invite you to come as we stand and as we sing.